today we're debuting a ton of Modern Warfare content. We already put up a raw look at an hour of gameplay, which if you missed that and want to check out the game in its relatively untouched format, I did a little cut editing here and there to splice together some decent footage or to save some streak of deaths or something like that being the focal point, but you get the picture. It's relatively untouched. If you want to check that out, it's up on the channel here already, and it'll be the first thing linked at the ending outro. But honestly, I fought with myself a little bit afterwards playing the game, debating on what I wanted to bring next to the channel, because I'm a planner. I had about 3 days of content with multiple days of uploads, maybe a little longer if depending I didn't upload all of them all at one time, but I had a lot of stuff planned. But after we played the game and we saw the depth of the brand new feature called GUNSMITH and the create a class system in Modern Warfare, I thought to myself, and I had to tell myself, no, you're showcasing this first after the raw gameplay and letting everyone know how it works out of the gate. So today with this one, we're going to be talking about the new systems of GUNSMITH and the create a class in Modern Warfare. Like I said, I have honestly so much stuff on deck, so do me a favor here before we jump into it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed already, for whatever reason, maybe consider hitting it so you don't miss a single bit of the coverage here that we have going up on the channel for Modern Warfare's MP reveal. We're going to be taking over the next few days the channel here with tons of content for Modern Warfare. So I want to keep as many of you guys in the loop as possible, so that'll be there for you. But also, code Espresso is 30% off your entire G Fuel order starting today on certain products like the starter kit due to the buy one get one deal, but as of tomorrow it's 30% off for all items again, so check that out. It'll be linked down there in the description below, or just head over to their website. But anyways, let's talk about COD. During our briefing, both in May as a smaller press event and a few days ago when I was out in Los Angeles capturing footage, the team at Infinity Ward really set off to make it known this truly was their pride and joy. And I know that's kind of a cliche, but genuinely, I haven't seen a dev studio this amped to share their work in ages. They wanted it to be known that this was going to be a nutso year for how in-depth you can go, and it absolutely shows. So let's start out with the create a class system here, because that's kind of the more basic and general framework of how everything works here with this, but there is no pick 10, no pick anything really, but instead it's kind of a combination of a pick system mixed with a stable create a class, more so like my mind immediately goes to Modern Warfare 3's. Instead of your create a class being a pick 10 system, it's made up of a primary, secondary, 3 perks, and a lethal and a tactical, but what's nice is that you can kit out your weapons without fear of losing a perk, a secondary, or a lethal or tactical. Say if you wanted to overkill something with a ton of attachments in Black Ops 4, you'd probably have to take away a perk or a lethal or something like that, maybe even a secondary. I know that in Black Ops 4, I hardly ever run a secondary because of that reason. But what's nice is that each primary and secondary weapon can be outfitted with 5 attachments, and that's each without having to detract from the rest of the class. Meaning that if you really want to compare it, it's kind of like a given 7 system with a pick 10 on attachments or perks for your weapons. That 7 being your primary and secondary weapons, 3 perks, lethal and tactical, with a 10 attachments completely up to however you want to roll with it. And what's absolutely nuts is that your attachments are applicable in what's called GUNSMITH this year, and it is absurdly in depth compared to what we've had before. This is truly going to allow for customization like you've never seen it before, and I'm super stoked for it. What we learned in our press briefing is that some weapons have up to 60 weapon attachments for you to choose from in this year's game, the minimum being 30 plus, and that's primarily just on pistols. So for the majority of it, you're going to see a lot more attachments than just 30 per weapon. Let's talk about and break down a little bit of this GUNSMITH a little further, tell you guys a little bit about these attachments and ultimately what also will be weapon perks. But what you'll be seeing on screen right now is a little bit of create a class and GUNSMITH workings of the M4, and this is due to embargo reasons. You'll probably see it loop back a couple of times, maybe here with this, depending on how long it takes to explain. I have 3 minutes of footage that I can show you guys that, because menus are actually normally off limits for this kind of stuff, but to showcase all this kind of stuff, it's kind of imperative to have that. So what you'll end up seeing is that your entire loadout has locations on your weapon, that being customizable muzzles, lasers, barrels, underbarrels, optics, magazines, stocks, and rear grips. Now, that's just about in line with the number of attachments that you'll find in the current games like Black Ops 4 or World War II, maybe a little bit less, but that's just the sections that you can customize, not even the attachments themselves. And of course, we'll break these down again. It might have some loop-on things here with this, again, because of those embargo rule sets, but the muzzle breaks down to allow for large suppressors, compensators, a regular suppressor, a muzzle brake, a small suppressor, and a flash guard. The barrel then can break down into a short barrel, a lightweight barrel, a long barrel, and the underbarrels will then break down into then the operator vertical foregrip, a tactical grip, vertical foregrip, angled foregrip, grenade launcher, and a CQB grip. The magazines will break down into a 4.58 SOCOM ammunition mag, high capacity extended mags, and extended mags. The rear grips will then be broken down into the stippled pistol grip, a granulated pistol grip, and a rubber pistol grip. Stocks will break down into the heavy stock, lightweight stock, close quarters stock, or no stock option. Optics have a ton on here, and those will break down into the operator reflex sight, core combat holographic sight, AIM-OP reflex sight, APX-5 holographic sight, hybrid scope, which is a West alternative with this one, a scout combat optic, a hybrid scope, a Merc scout optic, a sniper scope, a monocle reflex sight, a GI mini reflex, a Viper reflex sight, a variable zoom, and a hybrid scope, which is West canted. And then finally, lasers will break down to the 1 MW laser, the 5 MW laser, and the TAC laser. Now, the cool part about all of this is that these are unique to the weapon. Like we said, some will have 30 attachments, that mostly being the pistols on the lower end, and others will have 60 plus with tons of customization available. I can almost bet that no gun will look the same come launch, simply because of how many options there truly are for the weaponry and how it actually alters the look of those weapons as well. And with everyone probably using a different weapon, that's what I'd imagine would come out of it, which is really awesome. But they also broke it down into cool pros and cons as opposed to just previously just the red and green additions or subtractions from the overall gun stats, which, by the way, are a visual formality and oftentimes are nowhere near the representation of the gun's in-game statistical data. It's just kind of a rough estimate via bar graph. But anyways, these pros and cons descriptively map out everything that you'll see changing with your weapon should you choose that attachment. You know what will change for the better and for the worse whenever you end up using this feature to your advantage, not just adding 2 stats to the accuracy or minusing 1 from the handling or something like that. Some will have massive payoffs with a little downside, some will have more downside than upside, but most are relatively a 1-for-1 or 2-for-2 trade-off with abilities and weapon analytics. But all in all, it is a way cooler and way more descriptive way to know the best attachment for how you want to play. It gives a lot more information than we've ever had before. Now, the other thing we've yet to talk about, and is absolutely massive within the Gunsmith, are weapon perks. We mentioned these coming back, and the best way that I can think of it is like in Modern Warfare 3 with the weapon proficiencies, but expanded with more options available. These act in a very similar scenario as they did in Modern Warfare 3, but it will add to the level of play you'll have on offer with your weaponry. Now, what we had for the M4, again, I'll stress this later, is that this isn't for every single weapon, but what we had for the M4 were things like sleight of hand, which naturally reloaded faster, FMJ, which offered higher bullet penetration, stance training, which offered a greater accuracy in crouch and prone positions, Mo Money, which offered additional XP per headshot with the weapon, burst, which allowed for a mod allowing 3-round burst fire, which you can actually make the M4 a modded M16, by the way it was described to us in that presser, which with the right modifications to the weapon and attachments also apparently makes it look like it as well. Frangible wounding allows for bullets to cause a target to have a brief delay in their healing abilities, manual or automatic, which is a really weird one, but definitely curious to see how that will play out. Fast melee, which of course just quickens any melees done. Burst fire ×3 enhanced allows for a burst fire with better fire rate, and presence of mind, which will allow for an infinite hold breath time. Now, I didn't check if this was on snipers, but if it is, that's going to be a wild perk to run on that. And it may be up there with sleight of hand for the quickscopers out there, given that the ADS on the sniper we had available was relatively slow to begin with, so I'm curious to see which becomes a crutch here out of that. But anyways, those are the weapon perks that we saw for the M4, but again, these are all dependent on the weapon. Attachments, attachment quantity, and perks are all dependent on the weapon that you end up using, and all that we listed was simply that classic M4A1. Your AK-47, your Desert Eagle, your Model 680, your L86A2, your AX50, and so on could have different things and won't be the same changing over weapon to weapon. While there are some static things about all of these, not every weapon will have that direct one-to-one with what's available, and that adds for a very unique feel to each weapon. Outside of this, the only other thing that I can mention here about this new system is that you can actually change your weapon in-game. That sounds kind of crazy, but you can. Now, I didn't get any footage of this here to showcase it entirely, but you'll be able to choose your class, pick the edit option, and then go from there. It's kind of like a little pencil if I remember correctly, but that was something you could end up changing a little bit about this on the fly. You could literally change your entire playstyle if needed with a weapon, given the circumstances. But that's something cool that was added in. As for how in depth, if there's going to be any restrictions here to it, again, I didn't get much footage because I didn't play around with it all that much, but I'm curious to see what this leads to. But that is ultimately the new creator class system, which isn't really a pick 10 system or anything like that, but again, kind of a hybrid between the static and also pick systems in place beforehand, plus also the brand new Gunsmith. I think that this year offers a ton in terms of customization of weapons, not only just in terms of camos or anything, which by the way, we didn't see. Those things aren't in these builds. Those usually don't come until the version of the game that's pressed to gold, which is like right before release. It's after beta and whenever. The only things that will change things are the day one update. So those things like that weren't in there, but customization in the way of your weapon and how it actually looks and handles, it's gonna be a big year. So that said, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you guys like what you see so far in the creator class system and Gunsmith systems? Are you not necessarily a fan? And if so, why not? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but hopefully enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, again, we are gonna be covering so much Modern Warfare content here coming up, breaking down everything out of my time that I got to play at the reveal, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also wanna follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get kind of comments out of YouTube. Probably live on both those if you guys wanna strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. Well, let's end it out of the way. Thank you guys all so much for watching Modern Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.